Fellas, today I want to address why you're always wrong and the mislabeling of normal discomfort as dysfunction. For example, how modern emotional culture turns every negative feeling into a crisis. Maybe she has a bad hair day and suddenly you're responsible for regulating her nervous system. Or you forget to call her on your lunch break and she spins it into some form of neglect. In many ways, this is about her avoiding accountability and expecting the world to revolve around her. You know things are broken when you can't even take 10 minutes to cool off after a heated debate with your dad without being accused of having avoidant attachments. You just want to sit there on the porch alone for a few minutes. She wants you to immediately talk about why your dad is angry with you. As we're all well aware, men's emotions aren't just misunderstood or mislabeled by women. They're often needlessly pathologized. If your behavior makes her feel even slightly uneasy, she may rebrand your boundaries or feelings as toxic, narcissistic, borderline, or some other disorder that she half remembers from an online therapist with 200,000 followers. You could just be tired, irritated, or simply trying to process your day like a normal man, but suddenly you're a threat to her emotional wellness simply because your reactions don't alleviate her discomfort on demand. And when this happens, it's no longer treated as a part of normal or real human relationships for her. It's a crisis that you need to fix because she's uncomfortable with your need to regroup or otherwise express yourself. This is pathologization, the propensity to turn normal, everyday life and relationship moments into something that requires correction instead of communication, or hell, just a few moments of silence. Even more than 20 years ago, psychiatrists warned us that diagnostic boundaries have expanded so widely that everyday moods now get treated like medical conditions, with some even showing that diagnoses themselves are often shaped by culture. The translation is that if her way to avoid discomfort is multiple daily check-ins, then you're taking a solo walk after an argument becomes a sign of emotional damage instead of self-regulation. And when that happens, she doesn't want resolution. She wants to rebrand you as broken rather than admit that her discomfort is normal. Now, that shift can be subtle, but still very serious when she believes that she should never be exposed to uneasiness in life. And if you don't call it out, it only gets worse. Say you decide to bite your tongue during an argument because you don't want to say something that you'll regret, or maybe you skip one of her brunches because you need time to decompress from a long work week at the office. Yes, those things bother some people, but they're also a normal part of everyday life, especially if people have a lot going on. And throwing a tantrum when things don't go her way is not a sign of healthy relationships or an emotionally intelligent woman. What may be happening here is anything from projection, maybe it's entitlement or control, all dressed up in her own self-righteousness. She can't handle emotional contrast or the fact that you operate differently than her, so she reframes it as your dysfunction. She's labeling you because she believes that normal discomfort is abnormal. And since real accountability would require her to manage her own reactions, she'd rather manage yours with a fake diagnosis. Listen, your frustration is not rage, your boundaries are not narcissism, and your well-timed silence is not emotional abuse. These are normal human interactions, and unless somebody with a license says otherwise, they don't need fixing. Your emotions deserve to be felt and expressed, even if she doesn't understand it. Her uneasiness in those moments is normal, not a reason to fix you or to diagnose you. And remember that, as always, what you tolerate becomes the standard of the relationship. If you allow her discomfort to brand you as toxic, you train her to treat your emotional boundaries like problems without any introspection or accountability on her end. So when she tosses out diagnoses during a conversation that should have been a mature discussion about normal, everyday issues, call it out. Do it calmly, but do it with clarity. Remind her that life is messy and sometimes she's going to feel discomfort. That's life. It comes with occasional doses of disagreement, silence, and mistakes. You shouldn't be pathologized because you didn't fully respond to her exact emotional state. And if she's constantly diagnosing your behavior, what she really needs is self-examination and not a boyfriend or husband with a clipboard shoved in his face. So embrace your right to emotional range. Defend your normality like your masculinity depends on it, because in this context, it just may. You don't need to be so-called understood through a clinical lens if by somebody that's playing therapist. Now, if this has been going on with you and it's time for you to say something, try something like this. I told you that feeling discomfort is part of relationships, not a reason to snap at me every time you're a little bothered. If we're going to continue, I need you to understand that sometimes your discomfort is normal and not for me to fix. But if you've been in a relationship and this continues to happen, or you've already taken those approaches and it's time to just simply end it all, you could say something like this. Even after I explained that my frustration and need for space were natural reactions, you keep framing them as emotional instability. So I'm walking away because I will not stay in a relationship where being human gets me treated as a mental illness. For more about psychology and relationships for men, check out one of these videos. And if you could use some personal advising on masculinity in relationships, go to rowpress.com and send me a message. Thanks as always, and I'll be back soon with more.